This is Your Love World.
Today on Your Love World, be enriched as Pastor Chris takes you through insightful interviews with Brigadier General Shalom Harari, an Israeli expert for counterterrorism, Professor Cadell on the geopolitical landscape of Israel, 70 years after its creation, and the nation's lingering struggle with neighboring states. And that's not all. Join Pastor Chris in the studio for an exciting time as he hosts Pastor Benny Hinn for an enlightening discussion on the nation of Israel, where you will learn exciting facts on the nation of Israel, the importance of Israel to the church, and his personal experience growing up in Israel. You don't want to miss this. All in today's episode of Your Love World.
Hello everybody, welcome to Your Love World. Now remember, Pastor Benny told you we will be coming to Israel, and we are in Israel. And the plan is to pray for all of you who sent us your names. Now if you didn't do that, well, I very much hope you get another chance to do that. But we're going to be praying for you, whether or not you sent your names. For all of you whose names we already have, we're going to lay hands on your name and pray for you right from here in Israel. On the program today, I have Brigadier General Shalom Harari, and he is a counterterrorism intelligence expert in Israel. He's vast in the field, one of the best you can have, and he will take us through what's happening today in Israel, between Israel and the neighbors, and how this affects the whole world. As you know, Israel is like the heartbeat of the whole world today. Whatever happens here goes around the world, especially with terrorism at its peak today. General, you know our world is troubled, completely troubled, because of what is happening. Only recently, there was an explosion that killed over 300 people in Egypt. It was a mosque.
Prayers. Who prayed.
And think about that. And those who are responsible for this are Muslims. And they're killing Muslims. So one wonders exactly what they're after. Who is the enemy, and whose enemy is who?
The enemy, if you ask me, is first of all the political Islam. That have
political
Islam, meaning that they took the religion and use it as a tool to promote their political and also economical other targets. And if you ask me what's the biggest, if we describe it like a Christmas tree, okay, or tree, the trunk is an organization that we know here. You wake every baby in the night, he will tell you. Muslim Brothers, the Muslim Brotherhood. And the branches of the tree are Al-Qaeda, are ISIS or IS or Daesh as we call it, are Nusra and another something like 60 to 70 organizations.
Tell us about these major ones first. You just mentioned
the Muslim Brothers. This is a main
Muslim Brotherhood based in Egypt
and then spread all over the Middle East. Okay? Even Bin Laden, the main ideologist of Bin Laden, Sheikh Abdullah Azam, was a Muslim brother who came from where? From the mountains here in Samaria, in Judea, Samaria, from the district of Jenin, and then moved to the Gulf and became a preacher for the extreme Islam.
And the other groups are?
Okay, so we have ISIS. Or IS, Islamic State, that now was defeated also by forces of the United States, but also others, okay, in the Euphrates. You have Al-Qaeda, that is the competition of the ISIS. The competition is who can kill much faster Muslims and Christians and Jews. That's the competition, okay? And of course, others like Nusra, like the Jaish al-Islam, the armies of Islam, Jaish Muhammad, the army of Muhammad. I can give you something like 50 or 60 different names of different armies. Take Gaza Strip, only in Gaza Strip you have Hamas, which is the Palestinian Muslim Brotherhood. We have Islamic Jihad, which is more extreme Palestinian Brotherhood. And you have another 14 groups, each one has an Islamic name. Now, each one of them holds some hundreds of rockets, some hundreds of Kalashnikov AK-54 rifles, and their main target is, of course, to fight Israel.
General, do you use the Bible at all? Do you get any information from the Bible?
If
any
you
knowledge from it?
If you enter this building, which is memorial, you find a lot of sightings from the Bible here inside, which is under the IDF, okay? And you see here the flag of the Israeli armored corpses. Of course, we use the Bible. I can tell you that in the IDF, when you are entering the first 3-4 months, we also try to connect the soldiers to places that are mentioned in the Bible. So we take them to Jerusalem. And not everybody visited there, all the sites. You just talked with your other friend, other interview about archaeology, okay? We want them to meet and see the archaeological remains that show our connection to Jerusalem. We take them to the Galilee to see why the Galilee is so important, okay? And other places that are mentioned in the Bible, okay?
Do you have any prophetic idea about the future of Israel with respect to other nations at war? Do you have any idea what the Bible says about it?
When we look forward, we try to look forward, especially when you sit in the IDF headquarters in Tel Aviv. Mm-hmm. The planning is not for the next 100 years. It's maximum for the 5 years forward. Okay, and to be more accurate, the next and the year and the year before, after it. So when you do what you call the national assessment, and I belong to the Israeli intelligence, every year you have meetings of 1 or 2 weeks that do the national assessment where we are heading to. In most of the cases, it's for the next 4 years or 5 years, not longer. Why? Because things are changing so fast here. And you have, first of all, to adjust yourself to the ongoing events, okay? No doubt that there are people that try to think also beyond this, but if you want to be pragmatic at the units, at your commands and so on, that's the most important thing. What you do tomorrow, what you do next year.
You know, what I'm thinking about that is, the Bible does tell us when you study the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39, it mentions several nations that will be coming against Israel. And today, when you look at the political situation in our world, especially so much rhetoric against Israel, you notice that the various nations mentioned there seem to be preparing themselves. And one of the foremost of these nations is Iran. And the Bible does show that Iran will go against Israel. And from the study, it also seems like Russia will do the same. Do you think there's any reason to be concerned from what is happening today with Israel and Iran?
First of all, Iran, if you ask me, in the meetings that you have now in the IDF, this national assessment that is done, Iran is seen as today as the main enemy of Israel, the main threat. Now, when you say Iran, it's not only Iran that sits thousands of miles from here. It's Iran and its proxies. Now, Iran developed a very sophisticated way to fight what they see their enemies. So they took some terror organization like Hezbollah in Lebanon and upgraded them with hundreds of millions of dollars weapons, okay? Anti-tank missiles.
Hezbollah in Lebanon.
In Lebanon. Now, Syria. They upgraded the Syrian armed forces for some rockets, okay? You can take Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza, in the south of Israel. They upgraded their weapons. They gave them anti-tank rockets. They gave them rockets that can reach from Gaza to Haifa, to the north of Israel. So it looks like a terror organization, but actually it's an armed forces of Iran sitting on our borders. It's Iran without the flag of Iran, okay? And that's very, very dangerous for us. Iran holds in the north of Israel, through Hezbollah, remember the number, 122,000 rockets and missiles. I repeat, 122,000 rockets and missiles. Now, if they will start to shoot, they can shoot on Israel 2,000 rockets a day. Some of them are rockets that have 1 ton of TNT in the head, like Scud-D. Okay?
So
now,
Iran,
that's very dangerous for Israel.
Iran is enabling these terrorist organizations against Israel.
Of course. Now, Iran itself has also its rockets, but that's the second phase. That's what they are preparing for the long run, and this is much more dangerous. This is a doomsday plan that they plan for us, meaning they have rockets that were bought in or transferred from North Korea and other well-known troublemakers, okay, from North Korea. And they are now called Shihab 3 and Shihab 2. They can reach 2,000 kilometers to Israel, and they plan to build on the head, at the top, nuclear warhead. Now, this nuclear warhead is now on the run. We suspect that they are trying to develop it with the North Koreans. When I say we, it's at least in my desk, okay, in my institute. If you think that this agreement that was signed by the 5+1 or P5+1 to stop the program, we have a lot of suspicion that they are trying to cheat, and they will start to cheat very, very soon and build this warhead. Now, this warhead can be a very big problem for Israel, because nuclear weapon, Israel, you know, is a very small country.
Is Russia involved in this?
No, Russia is not involved in developing of the warheads, but Russia is now planning, and it's not a secret, to sell Iran. Well, let's start it from another corner. Russia is, the military industry of Russia is in a very big problem. They lost all their buyers. Now, the big bonanza that they see now in the future, near future, is Iran. Why? Suddenly Iran, because of this agreement that was signed, okay, with a very big push of Obama and others, gives them a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars every month. Now, because they can sell openly their oil, they can sell their gas. The United States freed a lot of budgets that were frozen in the United States. Now, with this money, the Russians want to sell them tanks, T-90, which can be a problem for our tanks, although I think ours is better, okay, that you see around us here, the Merkava. They want to sell them rockets. They want to sell them nuclear reactors that they say that this is for civilian targets, but know that they will train their expert on this also for the military one, and many other things. So Russia, non-directly, can do a lot of harm to Israel by selling this, and more than this, they can sell them anti-aircraft missiles that will protect another proxy that Iran have sent to Syria in the last year or two, and this is the Shia militias that Iran organized in the whole Shia world. They recruited from Pakistan, from Afghanistan, from Iran, and from Iraq, tens of thousands of farmers who are Shia, simple people who have a very hard day, earn $2 a day, gives them $200 per month or more, and they brought them here to fight, first of all, the fight of the butcher Assad in Syria, who killed 500,000 of his own people by chemical weapons and others, and to fight Israel later. And they are sitting very close to our borders. And they are threatening all the stability. And one of the things that, if you ask me now, is how Israel will succeed through the pressure of our friends, which is the Western world, the Christian world, if I can say so, okay? To press on the Iranians and on other elements that now control Syria, which is like Russia, to keep those militias as far as we can and actually to take them out of Syria.
So we have to put some pressure to slow down Iran's actions, because they're going to do it nonetheless. Now, what you said is Russia is indirectly arming Iran, and Israel thinks Iran is targeting them.
Targeting who?
Targeting Israel, yes.
Israel, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I've got two things I want you to tell us about. Now, you were involved in the 1973 war.
Yes.
How did you win? How did Israel win? And with what's seeming to be in preparation, like these various nations seem to be getting ready for Israel. In the event of an attack by Iran through their nuclear weapons,
okay.
what will Israel do?
First of all, the 73 wars. For us, it was a very big shock because it came with some surprise, and we didn't have enough time to recruit our reserve service. A lot of the Israeli ground forces, like the armored divisions, are reserves who in the day-by-day life are farmers, are merchants, and so on, students, and so on. And the losses are very big. The walls that you see just around you here, with the names, just we see here, the longest wall is those who lost their life in 73 war. But the war ended with Israel closer to Damascus, to the Arab capitals, than it was before. With our forces closer to Damascus, we were in the range of ability to shoot them with our artillery, not before this war, and closer to Cairo. We were 100 kilometers from Cairo on the other side of the Suez Canal, never before. And that, no doubt, gave us the ability to exercise pressure on the Arab side to give up a lot of their demands.
What would you say was the singular thing that helped Israel in that war?
What helped us much, I think, the spirit of the fighters. The most important thing was the spirit, people in these tanks, and hundreds of them were burned to death.
In these tanks?
No. This tank was a result of the war, because we understood that we have to build a new tank that you can make much better survival of the crew. And if you lose the tank, you still have the crew.
These tanks are made in Israel.
Yeah, they are made in Israel. It's called Merkava.
Some others over there.
Yeah, Merkava. If you look to the Bible, you ask the connection of the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, to Bible. Merkava is a name of a fighting system in the old days, which is the horses with you call it the chariot.
Okay.
Chariot behind it with the wheels. Okay. This is Merkava. It's taken from the Bible, the name, okay? And not by accident. We took it because this is a connection of our past to our present now, to our future. And these tanks are built in such a way that we won't lose so many lives in the future war. And if the tank is hit, still you can take the crew, 3 people, move to other tank, and go on fighting.
Interesting. So what's the plan for the future?
The plan for the future, first of all,
missile defense and so on.
Let me just give you a wider view, not only missiles and tanks. The strength of Israel is derived from many sources. First of all, our armed forces, of course, our very strong Air Force, with the help of the United States, no doubt. Most of our airplanes are US production, but with Israeli gadgets that we put on and upgrade it in a way that even sometimes the United States don't have. And that's one. The second thing is, of course, the armored forces. Again, all of it is made in Israel, only the engine of the tank outside, but the ability is mainly the Jewish head, meaning the ability to develop it in such computers, such optics, that our enemies don't have. So that's one of the sources of our Israel strength, but this is not the only one. It's important, the education of Israel, including this connection to the Bible, okay? To the holy writings, if I go this way. To our past, to our ecology, our nation is built. Every place that you go in Israel, you find some old place, okay? You find some old coin from 2,000 years ago. You just go around for 10 minutes and you find it in some old place that you have ruins. Now, it's derived from our economy, from our high-tech industry, okay? Israel is called the high-tech nation now. We have more startups than any other country in the European bloc, for example, per capita. Very close to what you have in the United States. So it's called the startup country or the high-tech nation. So it's science, it's industry, it's education, and the spirit of the fighters.
Interesting. What's the influence of Iran on the Palestinians? And as long as, because if they're involved, it makes peace between the two peoples more difficult.
Iran is the main spoiler, if you ask me, against any peace agreements. Why? Because in their idea, Israel should be wiped out of the map. That has to do to the Shia ideology, that their their Messiah, it's called the Mahdi, will not come unless Israeli people will not have a state. It's called Mahdawiya, the Mahdawiya. And the main preacher for this is an Ayatollah that you in the States have not heard about, Ayatollah Ruhollah Misbah Yazdi. Remember the name. Very big troublemaker. Now, Iran is trying to take, for example, terror organizations that you have in Gaza, like Hamas and Jihad, supply them with money to scatter around, to build mosques, scatter around to build under the ground tunnels that you can come and attack Israeli citizens and kidnap Israeli citizens near the border, attacking tunnels. Iran supplies them with these weapons that they send through their proxies or through their special forces run by General Qasemi. His name is Qasem Soleimani. General Qasem Soleimani, he is the main commander of the Jerusalem force. In Arabic it's called Al-Quds force, okay? Quds is Jerusalem in Arabic. And he's organizing a lot of smuggling of weapons through Egypt to Gaza, through the Mediterranean, through fishing ships and so on, and it's sent to Gaza. Now the idea is to send it also to the West Bank. When we sit here, just 1 kilometer from here, it's the West Bank. With the hills of the West Bank, it's just behind the camera that is now taking our interview. Now the idea was to send it also to the West Bank. Yasser Arafat in 2002 have bought $40 million from the Iranians, weapons, with a ship that is called Karin A. Because of Israeli very accurate intelligence, we succeeded to take over the ship. Right? In night, we have commando operation on the Red Sea and took all those rockets and all those mortars and all those anti-aircraft missiles, thousands of them, to our hands. If they succeeded to bring it to the West Bank, we were in very big trouble. Why? Because behind you, when we sit here, is Ben Gurion Airport. If they had a mortar, 102 millimeters, they could from here bomb the airport. No flight will go out of Israel. This is only our only airport. We don't have another civilian airport or international airport. So you see the ability of Iran to make troubles for us. It's a very, very, very vulnerable state.
The land of Israel is very small compared to most nations. Why are these other countries so interested? Because they have vast lands. Why are they interested in Israel?
First of all, Iran is interested to ruin Israel because they want to lead the Islamic world as a whole. Not only the Shia, but also the Muslim one. And now they are boasting, they are bragging, they boast outside in their parliament in Tehran that they already succeeded to hold 4 Arab capitals that were run by Sunnis before by Iran. It's Baghdad, it's Damascus, okay, it's Beirut, and now it's also Yemen, Sana'a, that they have proxies that sit on the Red Sea. It's called the Houthis. The Houthis, it's a huge tribe of millions of guys who are local farmers and shepherds, and they now hold very high-level developed rockets. They succeeded with Iranian experts to shoot only 2 weeks ago huge rockets of 2 tons on the capital of Saudi Arabia, on Riyadh, on their airport, from Yemen to Riyadh. Can you imagine it? Hundreds of miles. And a tribe of shepherds, simple shepherds. How come? Because they are upgrading them by sending their experts of this Al-Quds force, this Jerusalem force, if I can call it religious.
Now, there's a little bit of destabilization in the Middle East right now, and because of the Shiite spread, and the Sunnis are, of course, fewer, so they're concerned. So this is bringing a little bit of problem between Saudi Arabia and Iran. So we hear that Saudi Arabia is making some kind of, they are into some type of relationship with Israel currently.
Well, I cannot speak it only directly, okay? I will use, whenever we cannot say something directly, we say according to foreign press, okay? So according to foreign press, Israel has strengthening relations not only with Saudi Arabia, with most of the Gulf states. And the reason is that they threaten the Gulf states, Iran, much more than they threaten us, because they are very close to them. Don't forget that from, let's say, the Emirates, okay, UAE, or from Saudi Arabia shore to the Iranian shore, it's half an hour with a fast ship or fast boat, okay? It's other side of the Gulf. By the way, there is a very big debate there about how to name this Gulf. The Iranians want to call it the Persian Gulf. The Arabs want to call it the Arab Gulf. And they're quarreling only even on this. Now, they are trying to make inside sabotage in Saudi Arabia. You have a lot of terror now that is developed and armed terror groups by the other side or the other shore by Iran. They send weapons to these groups. And they do a lot of shooting against Saudi Arabian policemen, Saudi Arabian government systems and so on. The same thing is in Bahrain and in other places. So all those Arab Sunni rulers are united now between them, and more than this, according to foreign press, they need a lot of the Israeli help. Why? Because Israel have a very long expertise and a long time of developing of anti-terror systems. Even this tank is now serving the Merkava in fighting against terror in Gaza, because what they do, and this is one of the Iranian ways to fight, is to hide behind civilians, meaning they take civilian houses, put their people there, they don't have uniforms, they're dressed like civilians, but they have anti-tank missiles, anti-aircraft missiles.
How do you overcome such?
How?
How do you overcome such? Because they put their weapons among civilians,
no.
And you are trying to avoid killing civilians, so yes. What do you do?
What we do, first of all, before we attack, let's say, a neighborhood like this in Gaza, we transmit through the radio and through TV. We have TV in Arabic and radio in Arabic in Israel, financed by the Israeli government. Tell those guys, leave this street and this neighborhood because it's going to be attacked.
What if they don't let them go?
That gives the civilians the ability to go out.
What if they don't let them go?
The second thing is to throw leaflets, to make it much more, how can I say, visible. Okay, leaflets from our aeroplanes in Arabic, in their language, to tell them it's going to be bombed within 20 minutes, you better go, because if you don't...
What if they don't go?
Okay, if they don't go, those who don't go, it means that they prefer to stay.
They're held hostage.
Now, what we do, we have something that we do. We develop such kind of missiles that can hit very, very accurate the shooting target, the target that shoot on you. Meaning that, for example, if you have a commander of Hamas that is driving in the streets of Gaza, okay, in the daylight, and if you want to, let's say, to hit it from the air, you need a very accurate missile. We developed missiles that can hit the window of the car, enter the car, kill the bastard, and in the same time, no harm from the people that go on the other sides of the street.
Interesting. Now, finally, in the event of a missile or a nuclear attack from Iran, let's say, because we know they are fast developing their stuff. In the event of that, how prepared is Israel?
Israel is developing two kinds of defense. One is the active defense, and second one is the passive defense. The active defense against missiles, first of all, we developed, again, the local industry with a lot of brains behind it, okay, human brains. We developed 3 layers of missiles, rockets that can intercept the Iranian rockets in the way, maybe even on the top of the skies of Iran before they fall here, and kill them in their way. So we have the Iron Dome. I don't know if you had the ability to see it. Maybe you'll be in the way. Next days you'll see it. That is against the short-range missiles like the Katyushas, 122 millimeters. The success in the last rounding against Gaza, in the last operation 2 years ago, more than 90% success of killing of those. Now we have the David Sling, and we have also the Arrow system.
David Sling, sorry,
David Sling, and the Arrow rocket that can intercept the heavy rockets of Iran up there, something like hundreds of kilometers above. So that's the active defense. The second thing is a passive defense. Today, in every house in Israel, you have a spatial shelter. You cannot build a house in Israel without building one room that is totally sheltered with concrete, with iron, and the walls are something like this, okay? And even if it's hit by a rocket from far away and all the house collapsed,
so you're able to defend.
The people will go out intact.
Wonderful. We're out of time. Now, it's important for us to discuss issues about Israel because Israel remains the custodian of such vital information about our salvation. There we can relate all of what we know in the Bible to what happened here in this world. The evidence is here, and they preserve the evidence. And the Bible tells us Jesus Christ is coming again, and he will come to this very land to bless, of course, the whole world. And so it's important that Israel is preserved, and we can see the hand of God preserving this nation according to the scriptures and the words of prophecy. That's what makes this all important. General, thank you so much. Thank you for the program. Thank you for your answers.
This is your Love World.